This episode of Hustle and Pro is brought to you by I9 Sports. I9 Sports provides a youth sports experience that teaches the importance of good sportsmanship on the field and in life. I9 Sports is the way youth sports should be. Find a youth sports program near you at i9sports.com. That is the letter I, the number 9, sports.com. This is Hustle and Pro with Kelly Walker. Join Kelly as she talks sports with players, coaches, organizers, and entrepreneurs from Pee Wee League to Pro. Now here's your host, Kelly Walker.
You guys know I like getting athletes here on Hustle and Pro, players from all of our pro sports teams here in Frisco especially. But in a weird way, I actually like having guests on like today who are the organizers, the front office, and the people with all the real access to everything. So enter Al Whitley, who has particularly cool access to the pro basketball scene here in Dallas. Welcome, Al.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited too. We have Brandon May with us again because, you know, all things basketball here, he's here to help me out. So we're going to jump into
the real expert.
Right, the real, for sure, for sure. So
yeah, it's very lucrative.
I have a couple quick hits just to jump off with, and then we'll get into some questions for you.
Fantastic.
This is a simple one. Who's your all-time favorite athlete?
Wayne Gretzky. Grew up in Canada. If you're growing up in Canada, you're a hockey guy, and just mesmerized by him, his creativity from an early age, and just watched all those Stanley Cups with the Edmonton Oilers. So he, hands down, was my favorite, and a close second was Michael Jordan.
Okay.
You know.
So when we talk about the farthest distance you've traveled for sports, how far have you traveled to either play sports, if as an athlete, maybe yourself as a kid, or now in your professional life?
I think professionally it was China with the Mavericks. Recently last year, we've been to Europe. We've kind of been all over the world, which is an incredible. If you think about it, you get to travel the world, see different cultures, and you're technically working. So it's China would be the farthest for sure.
I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about Mark Cuban, but what is your favorite Cuban moment or memory?
I think, when we won the championship, just we had an embrace and a hug on the court, and just the pure joy of, accomplishing a goal that was set years and years ago, the amount of hard work, the things that have to go into it in order to reach the pinnacle, behind the scenes. A lot's played out in public, so on and so forth, was just magical. It really was. And I know how much he puts into it, how much he cares. He's not just a face, he's an owner that's invested, not just financially, but all around. So to finally see that happen was really, really special.
And now that you've seen it happen, you also now know how hard it is to recreate, right?
Yeah. Just to go back in time a little bit, in 2006, you're up to in the finals, and I have a hard time talking about it too. And you think, oh wow, but there's nothing guaranteed, right? Yeah. And things didn't work out, and then the next year we start off 0-4, and we're like, wow. But then we go 67-11, we're the number 1 seed, and we're thinking, okay, we're back. I guess we can get back there every year, and it just doesn't work that way. There's just there's so much luck that's involved. Making moves, team chemistry, whatever you have it. There's so many factors to get to that level that you really, really, really appreciate when you're able to. And in 2011, we were when you get there, because it's nothing's guaranteed in pro sports.
Yeah, I'm going off script here, but do you think winning an NBA championship or NHL championship is tougher? I've always heard people say that they think hockey is the toughest series to win and repeat. Yeah,
that's a really good question, because I'm Canadian, and the love of hockey for me is endless. But I've worked in basketball and pro sport, for 20 years. They're equal. The seasons are equal. I will say playoff hockey, with the grueling, the way they play, the up and down, and the physicality of it. It honestly might be the hardest one. I'm going to say basketball is a very close second.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like in baseball. If you've got that ace, then you can pitch him a couple of games. But same with hockey. It's like, okay, maybe you made it in as an 8th seed, but if you've got that goalie.
And it's exactly, I tell everybody all the time, especially down here, be like, hey, tell me about hockey or whatever. If you have a hot goalie going into the playoffs, it doesn't matter what seed you are. You can ride them all the way to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
I mean, how unprecedented was Vegas?
Yeah,
2 years
unbelievable.
ago? That was crazy.
You know, the funny thing about Vegas is, so when they, first said they're getting an NHL team, and I'm from the Pacific Northwest, I'm thinking, I'd love to see Seattle get a team before Vegas, and, it's coming, obviously, but we were at Showcase, G League Showcase, and there was an off night where I actually went to a Vegas hockey game. Just wanted to check it out, thinking that it was going to be just another source of entertainment in the city. Yeah. Tourists come down, check it out. Yeah, they'll have a decent crowd. It's one of the best crowds I've ever seen. Literally every second or third person had a jersey. Wow. A Golden Knights jersey. Yeah. And it was a home-based, hometown team, like crowd base. Yeah. I was blown away.
They ate it up getting that.
They ate it up. And and you know what? And they did some really creative things entertainment-wise that I've never seen at a hockey game. And it's working. And they did an unbelievable season.
Would you compare that in a way to how Nashville has embraced it too?
For sure.
It's like they've got.
You don't consider those hockey, parts of the world, and for them to, even LA when Gretzky got there, it wasn't a hockey city.
Neither was Dallas.
And neither was Dallas. And
now we all know our Winter Classic
phenomenal
royalty that just happened.
I missed that, but I heard it was amazing.
Yeah. Well, I saw it on TV, and it was amazing on TV.
Sure.
So real quick, I know I want to kind of know, just like growing up, were your sports hockey and basketball personally? What all did you do?
Actually, my biggest sport was lacrosse.
Oh, okay.
It was like box lacrosse and field lacrosse back then. This is a lot of years ago. I played soccer. I definitely played hockey. And then we all kind of hit the 8th grade, and all of our group of friends decided to start playing basketball. And I fell in love with it immediately. Probably had a chance to play college lacrosse. And I picked basketball. I played college basketball in Canada, but, the ultimate dream growing up was the NHL or the NBA, and I had to find another way to get there.
Right, so let's talk about that, Brandon. Sure. I know you have some NBA-specific questions for Al.
Well, so I was born in 77. Mavericks were originated in 1980, so
sure.
Almost literally lifelong fan. Are you basically Keith Grant 2.0? Is that what we're doing here? Equipment manager, getting into the front office,
sure.
Expanding. Have you talked to him? How does
Keith has been an incredible mentor to me. Obviously, his story is incredible. It's not a road that's normally traveled, especially in modern day NBA with the staff size so big and so many other things going on. I'm definitely in a unique situation where not many people get an opportunity like I'm getting. So. That would be that's the A scenario. That's my goals. I've always set high goals for myself. I've always dreamed of being, in the front office in some capacity and getting the chance to do that and kind of grow my skills and development in the G League is a perfect fit for me. And we'll see where it takes me.
Well, so was that the ultimate goal was to?
Absolutely. Just to be a part of the front office and be a resource and just help out where I need to be helped out. I've always kind of been a team guy. Whatever is needed to be done. Even all my years as the head equipment guy for the Mavs, I was always trying to learn every aspect of the business. So and prepare myself that one day, if I got the opportunity, I was going to take advantage of it. And so here we are. Year 2 of that, and I plan on continuing to do that.
I heard you tell, I think it was Scanwade or somebody, that you had put that out there, and finally somebody read it. And
I was going to say, every year in my bio, I always put, future ambitions, front office management or whatever. I said, I guess our owner finally read my bio after 17 years. Yeah, it was funny.
And so officially, with the legends here, you're the VP of basketball operations.
I am. Yep.
It's an unofficial Mavs liaison title too.
Exactly.
Because that's what like people refer to you as.
For sure. I think my Mavs title is special assistant to our owner. But basically, I am. It's my job to kind of bridge the gap between the Mavericks and the legends, oversee our development of our two-way players, our draft picks, our young players. And and then roster basketball operations with the legends. I run that with Malcolm Farmer, our president, and just kind of create up a system where we develop these guys and potentially, hope if things go well, into NBA players at one point.
So, what's your role in an example like recently when we have a two-way player
for sure
that's playing on the Legends one night,
yep.
first NBA appearance in the Mavs one night? 2 nights later, back in Frisco or wherever their away games are. So what are you doing in all of that transition?
So I'm in charge of kind of all of that, and basically it's like a proud parent moment. When these guys get called up and it's their first NBA game, it's pretty special for all of us, especially in the legends who are around these guys every day, know how hard they're working, that they're fulfilling a dream. So I'm constantly, it's my job to help these guys develop in the G League and prepare them so when their number is called, like Josh Reeves the other night, and Antonius Cleveland's going to be, he was with the Mavs today and hopefully tomorrow night, that they are prepared and ready to make a seamless transition, that when the Mavs, the hardest part is when things are going well with the Mavericks, our offense is, number one in the league, efficiency and all this great stuff. How do you fit these guys and keep them connected to the Mavericks? That's the hardest part because, you got to pick and choose the time to do it, but going back and forth helps develop them the most. So, we have injuries right now with the Mavericks. Guys are getting over a few bumps and bruises here and there. It's that time of the season. So it's our job with the Legends to have these guys ready that when they're called upon, which they have been this week, that they can step in and if when they're needed and contribute. So
how difficult is that balance? Because obviously you're trying to win games, but then if you've got your talented players then getting called up even from the Blazers, you've got people coming back and forth.
For sure. You're talking on the Legends perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the roster moves, that's the hardest part, especially for Coach Gallinopoulos is, your roster can change, in a matter of hours in the G League.
Right.
It's a great experience for him. It's a great experience for me to deal with moving forward in my career as well. But you got to adjust, right? The pro sports, is being able to adjust on the fly. I really think that's the most, it's one of the most crucial things in my whole career with the Mavericks is you got to have a plan A, B, and C because you never know what's going to happen at any time and you got to be ready for it. So
and I always, you mentioned winning, you still want to win, but I still feel that in a development league, the winning is prioritized less and less when you have to prioritize the development for your pro team, first team.
I think in any development situation, you want a culture that's based on winning, but it's promoted through development, right, and accountability. So, of course, developing not only our players but our staff in the G League level is priority number one. We want these guys, whether their NBA potential is or their basketball potential, is NBA. Maybe it's a great contract overseas. Whatever the case may be, we want to do everything we can to put them in a situation that they can achieve that. And our staff too, right? If there's areas where our staff are doing really well and they can move on to the next level or we can help them out too, we take a huge pride in that as well. So, but at the end of the day, if you're at this level of pro sports, we can talk all we want about that winning is not the most important thing, and it's not, but it's pretty close up there. We're all very competitive.
Right.
We want to, we put so much work into these game plans and practicing and these rosters and stuff. At the end of the day, it is nice to win, and winning promotes development. It enhances it a little bit faster.
Everything feels better when you're winning.
It does, right? Yeah. Everybody's smiling the next day as opposed to not smiling.
Right.
Well, that's one of the questions I asked Isaiah Roby was, okay, you could be on the Mavericks on the bench, but you're getting maybe 2-3 minutes of burn at the end of a blowout game either way.
Yep.
Or you can be here and you can play 30-35 minutes.
For sure.
What would you rather do? Because your dream is to be in the NBA, but players want to play.
Sure.
So
what did he say?
What do you think he said, Al?
Well, I'm hoping he said that he wants to play.
Yes.
And so anytime you're in a development role and you're, we drafted Isaiah. We signed him to the team. We believe in him. But if you look at our roster, he's not going to get the minutes like you were talking about. And the only way you can develop is to play. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to be up with the Mavericks, when you get to this part of the season, of course we're practicing every day, but it's not they're not scrimmaging for 30 minutes or all this kind of hard contact stuff because we have 3 games and 4 nights coming up. It's just not reasonable, and it's not going to happen. So they've got to play to develop, and the G League 20 minutes up the road, I mean, what better situation can you be in? So
Yeah, I asked the same question, last year to Ray Spalding.
Yeah.
And same answers, I really want to fly on that really nice plane.
And that's the thing, right? The perks, right? It is really nice.
It's the dream.
It's the dream, right? But you got to work hard to achieve the dream. And they've worked hard to this point, but professional basketball is different than AAU. It's different than college. These guys, have to put the work in, and if they do, and the opportunity knocks and they're ready, then they'll be on that plane, they'll be in that nice hotel, and so on and so forth.
Well, in turn, that makes you look good there's a reason the Blazers chose you guys to send their two guys over, right? They could have gone anywhere.
For sure. I think we do a really good job of that, and that's, a tribute to Malcolm. He's been doing this since day one. The Legends were here over 10 years, and just the way that we want those guys to come in. We're helping to develop them too. And I think we do a really good job of that, giving them the minutes that they need and give them their coaches and their other teams reports on how they're doing, and we just keep in constant contact.
Do you like the way, because what I like the most about the G League, I've always wanted a minor league system for
sure.
The NBA, and they're getting there. I still think that there's movement. Or do you have anything that you like, as much as I like the fact that we've got players from the Blazers over here,
sure.
or just people from overseas that just want to get some run, better competition, all that
For
stuff.
Sure.
Would you be more inclined to say all of you belong to the Mavericks?
Yeah,
or is that going too far, like a baseball minor league?
Yeah, baseball, even hockey, right? I grew up with a hockey minor league system, and you do have the rights to all of them. I don't know how, I know there's been conversations. I don't know how close they are to making that happen. Mm-hmm. Markets like New York, LA, Frisco is a pretty nice place to play in the G League. Do they have an advantage? And if it's a rights in like a free agency situation, are the smaller market teams in the middle of nowhere going to get players? I don't know. So I think there's a lot of things you have to look at. I like to have the rights because then you get to develop them. And, we got a couple players on our team right now that I think are NBA talents and NBA worthy. And I will be surprised if they don't get an NBA call up from some team. We don't own their rights, right? But I want to see them do well. They put the work in, and that's the goal, is to develop these guys to get to the highest level. So, it'd be sad to see them go, but it's also they're attaining their dream, and would never want to hold them back from that.
It does feel like the more depth, though, that the Mavs could have in the G League, the better for the development overall, with only two, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You only get two rights to two.
Yeah, so we have two-way players. So nobody can take, if they're playing really well, another team can't come in and sign them. They're ours, for either it's a year deal or a 2-year deal. The Isaiah Robies, who's on our roster, if he's assigned to us like he is right now, nobody can take him. But the rest of our roster is open. If they're playing at an NBA level, and it just takes one team to like you.
Yep, and they could be gone.
Does that apply to the Exhibit 10s as well?
Yeah, Exhibit 10s, yeah.
Fair game?
Yep.
Okay.
So, and that we're in that season right now. The 10-day contract in the NBA just started a couple of days ago. So, the phone could ring any minute that one of our guys has been called up, and we will we'll do a nice celebration presentation in front of the team and wish them well. And either they're going to be back or they're not.
Going.
Or they're going to be,
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's why I wish that just because I'm old enough to remember when the NBA draft was more than 2 rounds.
Sure.
And they cut that back because they realized guys weren't making teams. Like, well, if you just had a minor league system and you put them down there, not only that, but we're coming up on the trade deadline. Now they're not just players, they're assets that you could put in as prospects, no different than hockey or baseball does. But I guess they're growing. I mean, not every team even has a G League affiliate yet. Right?
So 28 of the 30 teams do. Right. Denver and Portland are the only 2 that don't.
Okay.
I suspect that, in the next couple of years, all 30 teams will have them, but, you just don't know. I honestly think the NBA could almost move to a 3rd round with the 2-way players because, most of those guys are decided draft night after the draft. It's kind of a scramble to find some good 2-way players that you think have NBA potential that you can hopefully develop. So,
when does the one and done rule end? Is that next year?
Yeah, I think it's a year or 2 away, but it's that changes the G League too.
Right.
And the talent level is going to go way up. It goes up every year right now. Just get more and more guys want to stay home. And this is the fastest way to get to the NBA is to be, there's scouts all over the world. If you're good enough, we're going to find you. But, just to stay home, close to your families, and have a chance to make the NBA, more and more guys are staying. Then you add this. I mean, the G League is legitimate.
I was watching the Toronto Raptors, defending champions, their head coach.
G League.
2 championships, 2 different teams in the G League. Van Vliet, G League.
Chris Boucher, now on their roster.
Well, and even Siakam, G League.
They've done a really good job up there in using their G League, developing these players, and, look at them now. Fantastic example.
So does that speak then kind of to the cohesion between Mavericks, Legends,
For
coaching
sure.
philosophy, development, all that kind
Absolutely. We want to kind of mirror it, right? And that's why one of the things that was so appealing to Coach Gallinopoulos is he's been in our Mavs video room for the last 2 years. And so he knows the Maverick style of play, what we're trying to do, the culture, the staff. And so it's just an easy transition for him in teaching that, because it's the same principles. There's no secrets here.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're have a successful G League team, it's usually mirroring the NBA team. For the guys that are down in the G League, if they are called up, it's a pretty seamless transition. Mm-hmm. It's not two different offenses and two different defenses, and you look like a ghost out there, right?
Yeah.
So that's the goal, and that's why George, among many things, was so appealing this summer.
With his background, is that kind of the similar trajectory to like Spoelstra? Because he started off right in the video room.
For sure.
The Heat, right?
There's a lot of guys that started in the video room, and you just work your way up. I mean, when the video room, you're buried in there.
You're studying all the time.
All the time. And you're 12, 14-hour days easily where you don't even see the outside of the, if it's sunny or raining outside. They're studying film, cutting film. So those guys know the system inside and out, and they're great guys and resources to tap into and to use.
I have a non-G League question. I cannot let you leave without asking you.
I'm ready.
You're from Canada. You mentioned that.
Yep.
What's the relationship with you and Steve Nash?
Me and Mr. Nash, we grew up together.
Mr.
So we've been best of friends since we were probably 11 or 12 years old.
Okay.
And I actually did used to beat him a few times in one-on-one. I know it's hard to believe. We all were kind of the same level, our group of friends growing up, and then kind of high school hit. Our development kind of slowed down a little bit, and his just kind of took off. And we were like, wait a second, where's he going? And he never came back.
So this 8th grade group of friends you talked about at the beginning that started basketball, was he one of those guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
And probably soccer group you mentioned too, right?
Yeah, really good. He was a way better soccer player than basketball.
That's what I've heard.
Incredible.
Didn't his brother play professional?
Yeah,
right?
he could have played first division over, and if that was his main sport and he chose. He was, you just see him goofing around with the ball and stuff.
Yeah.
His hand-eye coordination, that's why his footwork was so good on the NBA court, because he was a magician on the pitch.
I think that's one of the reasons him and Dirk got along so well too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right away, the European football connection.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really cool.
I love me some Steve Nash. I'm sure you do too, Brandon.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. That's pretty amazing that you guys grew up together.
Yeah.
And,
I just saw him in New Year's Eve. We played South Bay Lakers, and I had him come to our shoot-around.
I saw that.
Yeah,
That's pretty neat.
It was cool.
He came and talked to the legends.
He did.
Yeah.
He just, his story's inspiring. You look at all his accolades and 2 MVPs and Hall of Famer and 3rd assist, and you think, oh, this guy had a pretty easy career or whatever, but it wasn't that way at all. I mean, now Canada's heavily scouted, and we have an incredible group of basketball players, young, coming up through the system. But when he started playing, especially Western Canada, it was hockey and what is basketball? So, he had one college scholarship to the States, to a small school. Santa Clara Broncos. And then, when he first got to Dallas and got that contract, and there was all this pressure and tried to play through injury, he was getting booed off the court. Like, there's a lot of parts of his career that you didn't know which way it was going to go. And just, knowing the person he is and the perseverance and the mental toughness, it was destined for greatness. Now, do we think he's going to be a 2-time MVP of the NBA? No, but he's just, he went to the gym every day with a purpose to get better. And that's easy to say, but for the guys that can really do it, the Steve Nashes, the Dirk Nowitzkis, the Jason Kidds, it's truly amazing. So his story was inspiring, and I wanted him to come and talk to the guys and let them know some of these guys are on the brink of the NBA, and don't lose focus of that. You got to keep working hard every day. You got to be the hardest worker in the gym. You got to be a great teammate. Bad body language. NBA teams aren't going to look at you.
Right.
Just little things.
Just a reminder from somebody who's been through it.
From somebody who's been there, and, one of the greatest to play his position.
Yeah.
So
that's what's amazing, too, is that before he got here, he was a third stringer with Phoenix behind Jason Kidd and Kevin Johnson.
You are a basketball historian.
I told you.
Yeah, he's a fan.
That
big time.
Okay, at that point you got to realize, maybe I am third stringer behind those two dudes at that time, and then to realize because Donnie was on the coaching staff at that time.
Absolutely, and they got a chance to know him. And when you look at that situation, you're like, oh, I'm playing behind these two guys every day, or I'm competing with these guys every day and trying to get better. And that's what he did. And on the rest is history. So pretty nice ride.
So as a result of your friendship with Nash, then obviously you developed a friendship with Dirk and
really, and
Finley,
obviously with and Mark, was the big one that when MC bought the team 20 years ago is when I first met him, and we developed a friendship. And just unbelievably lucky. We were at dinner one night, and he just, hey, what are you up to? What do you want to do? And I said, I'd love to move down here one day. And it was kind of like, well, why don't you come work for me? And I, literally, I was like, I wish I had a tape recorder. I'm like, did you really just say that?
Yeah.
And it took a long time. We had to get lawyers involved because I'm Canadian, and it took 9 months to get my working visa. And then my first day with the Mavericks was September 10th, 2001, the day before 9/11. If I waited forever, it felt like, to get the working visa. If I hadn't have got it when I got it, I probably wouldn't be here.
It would have been delayed
for sure, and it probably never would have happened.
Wow.
So unbelievably grateful for the opportunity that he gave me. And
20 years.
20 years later,
already.
I'm still trying to figure it all out.
You were on an episode of Punk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that come about? Because I think had Nash already left for Phoenix?
He had.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You were on an episode of Punk?
I was.
Tell me about that.
Crazy. So Michael Finley knew a producer of the show, and he comes to me because we were getting ready for a trip to LA and says, hey, do you want to punk Dirk? And I was like,
oh, okay. I feel like I've seen
Dirk's the biggest 12-year-old in the world. Of course we want to punk him. But so many things involved in that. We were on a back-to-back. Back in the day, it was a noon game in Dallas, and then we played the next night in LA. And Dirk, A, doesn't go out, but B, wasn't going to even leave the hotel normally to even go for dinner if we played the next day. And if we lost the game in Dallas, there's no way. So we had to tell them to set up the production. We hope we're going to get him there.
See if it's going to work.
We ended up winning in Dallas. He was, humming and hawing. He's tired. He didn't want to go to dinner. We forced him into a car. The table's outside. Well, Dirk's notoriously always cold. And we're in California. We're in LA, but it's still a little breezy.
Yeah.
So he starts complaining, and I'm thinking, there's no way we're going to pull this off. And
Because he had to be sitting in a certain spot.
yeah, it wasn't a restaurant we'd ever
it's
been
all
to.
coming
but,
back to me.
Yeah, but it was
I feel
outside.
like I remember this now.
So there was a
Yeah.
kid that kept on coming up to us and to Dirk and
That was the gimmick. And then
sign
the mom
this
kept
and
guilting
sign
him.
that and like sign LeBron James's jersey. And then Finn and I were just egging him on, like, you're really going to sign that? He's the nicest guy in the world. That's how he is. And then finally, with us egging him on, he's like, hey, can I just finish my dinner first? And that's the most we could get out of him.
Trying to be so nice about it.
Yeah.
But you could tell he was getting irritated.
Yeah.
I remember watching it when it aired. And of course, I know who all of you are. What I thought was hilarious was they said Mike Finley.
Yeah.
And then they said Trainer Al.
Al the trainer.
Al the trainer.
Trust me, I got
didn't
a
even
lot
get
of
a
heat
last
for that.
name
Yeah,
out of
yeah,
it.
no, just Al the trainer. I'm like, oh.
Who's this guy?
It's weird. You're walking in, you're like, where are all the cameras? You don't know anything. You're just, and like, are the cameras in the car on the way over there? Like, we didn't know anything.
They would have fooled you too.
For sure.
So that was still at the time where the Mavericks were on the rise.
Sure.
But there were still the Lakers, the Blazers, the Kings, the Spurs, the
Basketball expert over here.
There were so many good Mavericks teams
incredible.
back then that there were just way too many better teams in the West. So what's the next step then?
Donnie Nelson, our team president, has been incredible in mentoring me as well and bringing me into the fold with all of our scouts. It's been, it's a dream come true, to be honest. So I'm fully immersed in this role. I love it. It helps me develop and grow and learn. In saying that, people who know me, I have high expectations of what I want to do and eventually down the road. But, to sit and talk about it now is, that's neither here nor there. When those opportunities come, they'll present themselves. But right now I'm focused on developing our young guys and making the Texas Legends the best G League team from a basketball standpoint in the NBA. We already are franchise of the year in the business side, with Malcolm and our staff have just done an incredible job.
Yeah.
I want to match that on the basketball side, and we are the premier development for young players, and let's get some guys into, undrafted guys to the Mavericks roster one day. That's the goal. So
yeah.
Well, you're doing it. And
I appreciate that.
You've got that, like I said at the beginning, you've got one of those dream jobs where you have the access and just a perspective with these players.
For sure.
You're not the player, right?
No,
but you're their next best thing. You're with them, and you're working with them and shaping them and getting them to the next level, and it's pretty neat. You've got a pretty cool situation.
Very,
there.
very lucky. Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking time out of your busy, I know you're in season, full swing, obviously, so thanks for coming over and jumping in the studio with us.
I appreciate you guys having me. This was
nice
fun.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.